From the moment the world started hearing whispers about Prince William's plans for the monarchy, one thing has become painfully clear. The future king does not like working. Not in the traditional sense, not in the ceremonial sense, and apparently not in any sense that involves effort beyond a mid-morning coffee. While his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, spent decades building an image of diligence, duty, and tireless commitment to public service, William seems intent on turning the monarchy into a glorified office where naps, leisurely lunches, and avoidance of responsibility are the highest forms of royal achievement. Reports, including statements from Andrew Loney, author of Entitled, have painted a portrait of a monarch who refuses to start his workday before 10 a.m., who dislikes events, and who is determined to limit the duties of everyone around him. The sheer audacity of this approach is remarkable. The British monarchy has survived centuries because its heads have understood that duty comes before comfort. Queen Elizabeth II, for all her personal quirks, never shied away from appearances, speeches, tours, or diplomatic visits. She embodied the principle that being a monarch was not about personal convenience but about service. King Charles, for all his struggles with public perception and personal controversies, has largely attempted to follow that path, albeit with his own style. William, however, seems to be planning a monarchy based entirely on personal convenience. If William doesn't want to get up early, why should anyone else? If he doesn't want to attend an event, then official engagements might vanish from the royal calendar entirely. This isn't modernization. It's laziness enshrined in law. The report suggests that William's disdain for working extends far beyond a dislike for early mornings. He apparently does not want to do events, and by extension, he doesn't want other royals to do them either. This creates a paradoxical situation. A monarchy that exists to perform ceremonial and diplomatic duties may cease to perform those duties entirely. Imagine a king whose calendar is empty because he refuses to attend gatherings, openings, or international visits. Imagine royal family members being told to follow the same rules. No travel, no appearances, no titles carrying responsibilities. It's a recipe for irrelevance. William's vision, if it comes to fruition, risks turning the British monarchy into a passive institution, existing in name only, with no real influence or presence. What's particularly striking about this lazy monarch scenario is the top-down enforcement. This is not merely about William choosing comfort for himself, it's about imposing that comfort on the entire royal family. Other royals, traditionally active participants in public life, could be forced to adopt his lackadaisical approach. No royal tours abroad, no late-night receptions, no charitable galas or ceremonial appearances. This raises questions about the very purpose of having a monarchy if the individuals who hold royal titles are unwilling or simply uninterested in performing the duties those titles traditionally entail. William seems poised to prioritize personal leisure over the public service that defines the institution. Of course, one might argue that modernizing the monarchy is necessary. After all, Queen Elizabeth II's era was characterized by strict protocol, extensive travel, and unending public duties. Perhaps the monarchy does need to adapt to the 21st century. But there's a difference between modernization and laziness. Modernization could mean embracing technology, streamlining administrative processes, or finding more efficient ways to engage with the public. Laziness, by contrast, is a conscious refusal to engage. Reports suggest that William doesn't want to travel, doesn't want to perform engagements, and doesn't want others to either. That is not modernization. That is abdication by convenience. The potential consequences of this approach extend beyond mere public perception. The monarchy has historically relied on visibility and engagement to maintain relevance. Queen Elizabeth II's tours, speeches, and appearances were not just ceremonial. They were tools of influence and diplomacy. King Charles's relatively limited engagements have already sparked commentary on a perceived decline in royal visibility. If William imposes his brand of laziness on the institution, the monarchy risks becoming invisible. Royal families around the world, particularly in Europe, will continue their duties while Britain's royal household retreats to private estates, limiting its influence both domestically and internationally. This is more than personal laziness. It's a strategic misstep with long-term consequences. Moreover, there is the public's perception to consider. Britons have historically tolerated the monarchy because of the symbolic value it provides. A figurehead who represents continuity, stability, and national pride. But a monarch who openly rejects work risks alienating the public entirely. The idea of a king who refuses to start before 10 a.m., avoids events, and limits the responsibilities of his family is almost laughable, but it's also deeply concerning. People expect the monarchy to contribute, to appear, to represent the nation. A royal family governed by personal convenience rather than duty undermines the very premise of the institution. It's also worth noting that William's approach to laziness seems almost performative. He is not a monarch who quietly shirks responsibility. Reports suggest he is actively reshaping the monarchy in his own image. That means instituting policies and expectations that reduce royal work across the board. He wants others to adopt his leisurely pace, which implies a top-down imposition of laziness. This could have profound effects on charities, patronages, and diplomatic relationships. Organizations that have relied on royal endorsements may find themselves suddenly without support. Diplomats may find their ceremonial contacts reduced. The very machinery that keeps the monarchy relevant may grind to a halt because the future king cannot be bothered to rise before mid-morning. There is also an element of irony here. The British monarchy, despite its wealth and privilege, has traditionally prided itself on service. The Queen famously rose before dawn to fulfill her duties. Even Charles, despite public criticism, has been consistent in his engagement with environmental causes, charities, and international initiatives. William, according to these reports, plans to redefine royal service by eliminating the core of it, engagement. A monarchy that does not work is a monarchy without purpose. And if William extends this approach to other royals, it may not be long before the public begins to question why these individuals are funded and revered at all. Critics may argue that every generation of monarchs brings its own style. Queen Elizabeth II had her formal discipline. Charles has his personal causes. William may be introducing a more relaxed monarchy, but there's a fine line between a relaxed approach and outright laziness. The former still allows for public service and visibility. The latter removes it entirely. Reports that William wants to avoid travel, events, and work outside a comfortable schedule suggest that he is leaning heavily into laziness rather than innovation. The distinction is crucial. Modernization invigorates an institution. Laziness diminishes it. Some may even view William's approach as a reflection of modern societal trends. After all, who doesn't appreciate flexibility, work-life balance, and a little self-care? But the monarchy is not a corporate office or a freelance career. It is a public institution built on visibility, service, and duty. A king who treats it like a 9-to-4 job, or more accurately, a 10-to-4 job, is at risk of eroding its legitimacy. While flexibility and modern values can be incorporated, wholesale avoidance of work is neither practical nor acceptable for a reigning monarch. Furthermore, the enforcement of this laziness across the royal family suggests an authoritarian streak masked by comfort. William's personal preferences are poised to dictate the behaviour of others, regardless of their willingness or capacity. This could create tension within the royal household, as younger royals or spouses who wish to engage with charities, international organisations, or public events may find themselves constrained. The monarchy has always relied on collaboration and shared effort among its members. A laziness-first approach could undermine that synergy entirely. It's difficult not to imagine a monarchy slowly shrinking into obscurity under these circumstances. If royal appearances, travel, and duties are minimised or eliminated, media coverage will naturally dwindle. Public interest may wane. Charities that depend on royal support could struggle to attract attention and funding. Diplomatic relationships that once relied on royal presence may weaken. In short, William's laziness could have ripple effects far beyond the palace walls, impacting institutions, organizations, and public perception in ways that extend well beyond personal convenience. And let's not forget the optics. A monarchy led by a king who refuses to work before 10 a.m., dislikes events, and avoids international engagement is an easy target for satire, mockery, and criticism. In an age where public scrutiny is immediate and unforgiving, this approach risks turning the monarchy into a punchline. While previous generations of royals have managed to balance privilege with responsibility, a laziness-first strategy may leave William and the royal family increasingly isolated from both public admiration and global relevance. Ultimately, the reports surrounding William's future plans paint a troubling picture. A king who prioritizes comfort over duty is a king who undermines the institution he is meant to serve. Queen Elizabeth II's decades of tireless work created a sense of stability and continuity that allowed the monarchy to endure. King Charles has attempted to continue that legacy, albeit with his own priorities and style. William, however, appears poised to discard the principles of engagement, visibility, and service entirely, replacing them with convenience, leisure, and laziness. His reluctance to work before 10 a.m., his disdain for events, and his desire to limit the responsibilities of his family mark a new, controversial chapter in royal history, one that may be remembered not for its vision or progress, but for the sheer audacity of laziness at the very heart of Britain's monarchy.